Honeybees and farmers have always enjoyed a good working relationship. Crops provide pollen, and bees spread that pollen, making plants thrive and produce. Virginia crops that depend on pollinators to develop their fruits include apples, pumpkins, cucumbers, squash, and blueberries. In fact, nearly one-third of our fruits and vegetables depend on insects like honeybees for pollination.
Virginia just went through a process of adopting a managed pollinator protection plan. The emphasis or the focus of that plan is to address the risk of pesticides to our pollinators, specifically to the honeybee. Part of that plan is best management practices for our applicators, whether they're a farmer, whether they're a commercial applicator, landowners, also for our beekeepers to provide protection and sustainability of our honeybees. One of the things that applicators can do is to look at the formulation of the pesticide that they're using, the toxicity that it has to the honeybees and other pollinators, time of day. Many of our crops, many of our plants, the pollen and nectar is not available in the afternoon, so a later in the day application can actually be beneficial to our pollinators.
The state pollinator plan depends on communication between farmers and beekeepers. Angie Sears, owner of Hanover Vegetable Farm, started keeping bees about a year ago. Sears, who lives in a century-old farmhouse that once served as a rural star post office, took to the process like bees to honey.
Had a thought one day I'd like to keep bees and talked to my husband about it, and he was all for it, living on a farm. He thought, yeah, that would really help. So I just started reading and going to bee meetings, and last year got my first set of bees. And so now I got 2 hives, now I have 4, and it's just been awesome.
Sears said there is much to be learned about bees and their behavior. She recommends going to a county beekeeping meeting. She plans on producing honey for her customers by next year, saying that most ask for local honey. One beehive can contain from 10 to 60,000 bees and can produce from 25 to 60 pounds of honey per season.
Individuals can help out our pollinators through providing them a food source. What our pollinators are looking for is that nectar, the pollen that's in those plants, those flowering plants, to provide them a food that they can continue to live off of, but also to produce more pollinators for us. And so by putting out gardens with flowers or crops that produce pollen, nectar for the food, making sure that there's a good food resource out there, good habitat for our pollinators as well. Many of our pollinators are nest in our forest, nest in the ground and so forth, and so providing them a place that they can nest in also increases that population.
Tigner says that when beekeepers provide a habitat around their hives, it helps to make the bees return home after a day's work in the fields and gardens. However, like most businesses, the manager needs to guide and nurture their employees.
It's just paying attention and really watching the bees, watching their behavior, and just reading and getting with other beekeepers. It's really just learning. That's the big part. The actual work is not hard. I didn't ever really think about it as deep as I think about it now, how important the pollinators are to us. We definitely see a big difference having the pollinators on the farm versus not having them as far as the way our crops go.
Open communication between beekeeper and producer will be critical for the success of the program, which in turn will help honeybees thrive and crops grow, all in a cycle to produce and feed the community and the world. In Hanover County, this is Dave Miller.